Yes, I was looking for that, Kriti. Thank you. So, very good morning to all of you. My name is Praveen Mokkapati, and I'm the lead for Telangana AI Mission. For those startups that are joined today, and also those that will be listening to this recording, thank you for your interest with the AI for Social Good Awards. This was instituted by the Telangana AI Mission and Capgemini, and also closely supported by the Telangana government and the NASCOM Foundation. So we are all gathered here basically to help you understand a little more about these awards and try to see if you have any questions, and we'll be able to answer that. But primarily, the reason why we decided to set this up and have these awards in place was mainly because AI, we all know, has this immense potential to transform the capability of, or at least the social landscape for our country, and the kind of impact it can provide in areas like education, healthcare, and environment, and many other sectors. None of that can be overstated. And clearly, innovators such as you, the ones that are connected and the ones that will be listening to this recording, you are creating game-changing innovations. We truly believe that, and these innovations have the potential to change our society and bring about that positive change. And it's important and essential for us to be able to recognize and reward these innovations, so that more of these growth stories, more of these positive stories can be retold, and at the same time scale of these innovations can be enabled. That is really the objective and mission behind these awards, right? Now, if I were to look at healthcare, these innovations can bridge the gap in access to quality healthcare and improve healthcare outcomes. And this is more in the context of, let's say, underprivileged communities. And same is the case in the education sector as well, wherein can we look at the issue of the quality of education as well as the access to education, which generally has been a challenge in the Indian context. And even in environment, again, these are three environments I'm touching upon these, but there are various other sectors where a lot of social good can be delivered using AI. And an environment, I was telling, can we look at monitoring the air quality or the water quality, or tracking issues like deforestation, or predicting natural disasters? All of these are high impact areas, and AI definitely has a lot of role to play there. Now, what we are trying to do is try to find more of these stories from across India, and try to find those innovations that are really powerful in terms of their ability to generate impact. There have been instances and some measure of such impact in perhaps pilot deployments, and we'd like to understand those those deployments that you have undertaken, and from there be able to assess. And that's really the role of the jury that is going to play in making those assessments as to how qualified is your entry. But in general, we really think this is a great opportunity for us to know about these innovations, and also be able to celebrate these innovations along with you. So that's the context which I wanted to lay. We have two different panelists. One is Ritu Haldar from the NASCOM Foundation, and we also have Ramadevi Lankagaru from the Emerging Technologies Wing, representing the government of Telangana. And we'll have a few words shared by both of them in terms of how they perceive this topic and this theme, and anything that they would like to share on this occasion. So first, I would like to invite Ritu, who leads the partnerships at NASCOM Foundation. Ritu and the foundation and the Telangana AI Mission have been collaborating extensively, and we have a very strong partnership. And there's a lot of good work that foundation is doing in the context of social good. But Ritu, I would like you to take over the stage and share a few thoughts around this subject.
Thank you, Praveen. And good morning to everyone who's joined the call. Good morning, Ramadevi and Kriti. On behalf of the foundation, the little that I can say is NASCOM Foundation is a part of the NASCOM ecosystem. We've existed for decades in the space of CSR engagement, working with marginalized and underserved communities. livelihoods, communities. Those are really our key focus areas. Because we've represented the tech industry for the longest time. Therefore, a lot of our engagement revolves around digital literacy, skilling, deep skilling, and of course, technology skilling on emerging technologies. In addition to that, of course, so on, we work extensively around that. There's a lot of focus towards enabling women across communities in their livelihoods by, again, leveraging technology to upscale themselves and so on. And so there's a multitude of engagements that the foundation has been in. And recently, we've also moved on to the women entrepreneurship piece. Ever since the pandemic, we realized how women who were able to use technology for their business ventures were also able to sustain themselves during the pandemic. And so the entire focus of the foundation was gradually shifted more towards rural areas, engaging more in the rural of the country. The skilling infrastructure that is required for emerging deep skilling, almost mandates us to work in tier 1, tier 2 cities. Our focus is also greatly on tier 3 or 4 more rural areas in India. And we're gradually, going in that direction. We work a lot, again, by virtue of being part of NASSCOM, with the government and so on. But this particular project with Capgemini on the AI mission and our government is of particular importance, encouragement as an organization. While the AI piece, like I explained, is part of the emerging tech umbrella, really. And so innovation within that greatly is enhanced by this particular program. The uniqueness of the Telangana AI mission, the fact that there's AI integration across sectors for solving real-time problems, real-time solutions that government is also trying to address in terms of improving, let's say, lives of communities and so on. And therefore, the engagement with government officials and in particular is for us in the overall approach that AI could take. Capgemini, and just to speak a little bit about Capgemini, that is the donor on this project, again, also has a very, dedicated focus on combining technology, especially with technology, to support the next generation digital innovation. And this is, again, because their focus on building inclusive culture across communities is very profound in their CSR engagements. With the foundation, Capgemini engages in multiple projects, Telangana AI mission being one of them. The others are more around skilling and deep skilling and emerging technology. And so therefore, this is really a combination of stakeholders who strongly believe in the entire mandate that AI proposes, at the same time also offers great time solutions for us to, let's say, bring a larger social good to sections of our society in India that require solutions which are, let's say, unlike anywhere else in the world. And so therefore, while we can learn from the development around AI in other parts of the world, solutions in India are very specific to our local context. And therefore, engagement with all of you today encourages that entire bandwidth of looking at solutions that are more for our local problems, looking at the multiple ways in which AI can engage in terms of improving livelihoods, and changing, let's say, bringing about social change. Well, it'll be slow, but at least we are heading together in this inclusive development of our communities. And so I'm most appreciative of everyone who's logged in today. And thank you so much for your time and for your efforts in trying to, in your own capacities, look at some of the larger problems that our country and our countrymen face. And it's a tremendous gesture as youngsters that you bring to this platform. And so thank you very much once again, Praveen, for the opportunity and also for engagement on this program. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ritu. That was definitely, one of the things that I wanted everybody to listen into. It clearly tells about the efforts that you all are driving at NASSCOM Foundation. And also thank you for speaking on behalf of Capgemini, at least, to the knowledge that you have. Clearly, the partnership that we have with Capgemini and also with Foundation, all of these point towards our commitment and our willingness to implement these solutions at scale, and all of these implementations definitely need partnership with the government. And here we are very fortunate to be partnered with the government of Telangana. And it's a nice little segue for me to introduce Ramadevi Lanka Garu as our next panelist. She is the Director for Emerging Technologies Wing in the IT department of the government of Telangana. And apart from artificial intelligence, there are several other technologies, emerging technologies that she oversees. And from an AI point of view, we're very fortunate to be associated with her since the past 3 years now, nearly 3 years, I would say, as Telangana AI Mission. And she's been a very strong supporter of our initiatives. And we are very fortunate also to have her in today's webinar. Rama Garu, I'm not sure if there is an issue with your video, but if you're able to switch it on, please do. And you can go ahead and share a few words with us, please.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen. But I have a problem with the video. That's the reason I did not, switch it on.
Okay.
Yeah. So after my first meeting at, at 10 o'clock, some problem has come up. So it's not actually, I have to actually, log out, log in. That will take some time. So I thought, let me go ahead with just audio on. Yeah.
All right, sure. Over to you, Rama Garu.
Yeah. Thank you, Praveen, for the kind words. In fact, we have been working for almost more than 3 years, I think. And this one of the Telangana AI Mission is one of our, our partnership that's very dear to us because of the kind of work that we are doing and, and the kind of progress that we are making in this particular sector or technology AI. So, while as a government, we are planning to develop the AI ecosystem comprehensively, like, the 6 pillars of the AI framework, be it skilling, data sets, entrepreneurship, like we have a REVA program, skilling program for women in AI and so on. But one core objective always remains close to our heart, which is, AI for social good. How do we actually use AI to impact lives, to improve lives? At the last mile, be it a farmer, can we actually use this technology to increase his revenue, to increase his, improve his, the lives by increasing the revenue? Or a poor student who is out there, can we provide him the quality education through this particular technology? Or even a poor patient who is at a remote location, can we be able to provide access for quality healthcare? These are larger objectives that are close to our heart. And I think this AI for social good is one means, through which we can actually, achieve those objectives. So while we have been working on various initiatives, because whatever projects that we specifically implement within the government are related to social good, because at the end of the day, as a government, we have to actually, look at what is that the government can deliver, to improve the lives of the citizens or the entire community as a whole. And our Chief Minister always says, which our Principal Secretary and other ministers also speak about it, if the technology cannot, make a difference to the common man, that the technology has no value. That's what they say, So we actually believe in that. And that's how we have been, designing our programs or projects and implementing them for the last 5 years in different emerging technologies that you mentioned about, be it AI, blockchain, drones or other areas, other technologies that we have been successfully using them to deliver social good. And in fact, when Praveen, we were actually discussing on what are the next, line of programs or initiatives that we would be taking up under the Telangana AI Mission. When Praveen mentioned this, I really felt happy, AI for social good. This is what we wanted to do and we have been doing, but this is something different. All along, we have been identifying, problem statements, challenges, and procuring or implementing solutions developed by the startup in various department. But this is this AI for social good. We are coming out with a larger ambition, I would say. We want to really see like what are the solutions out there across a country, in the area that deliver social good. And some of the solutions, if they're really good, in fact, we need many solutions in AI to implement in various departments. And if we can if we can really find out them through this AI for social good, I'm sure, and I actually promise that we'll be implementing those solutions. And once we do that, we identify, it will create a buzz across the country, and hopefully other states will also actually follow suit. That's happening. It's like a contagion effect. Once we do this and we prove success, other states will also follow. I see this initiative as a great opportunity. Number one, to accelerate, development of solutions in the social sector, and also adoption in various social sectors. It could be government, mostly the government. That's what we are looking at. So as Ritu has said, we are really thankful for NASSCOM Foundation as well as to Capgemini, for actually coming forward to be part of this program. I'm sure this would actually set a benchmark, that's what I believe, in the AI sector, like post this initiative or event, not this particular webinar, but I'm talking about the entire, AI for social good program. We are going to see a lot more solutions and projects that will be implemented on ground. While we are implementing a couple of solutions on ground, but we really need very good solutions in healthcare, agriculture, transportation, these and environment and forest is another area, climate change, so that where we can really deliver, create impact, I would say, and deliver social good. So looking forward to to see the very interesting solutions from the startup community. So and we're really excited about this project. So with this, I mean, back to you, Praveen, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rama Garu, for sharing those words, and for the startups that are participating in this webinar, and also those that are listening into this webinar recording. Clearly, what you've heard is something which you typically would not hear from governments across the country. The willingness to implement some of the really high impact solutions, high potential solutions, and have them adopted as a part of the government's efforts. And it's a great opportunity, a tremendous opportunity at that, wherein your ability to showcase your solutions, AI-based solutions in the three sectors that we've nominated and identified, and especially those where you have already seen some evidence of impact, where you believe that impact can scale further. This is a wonderful opportunity wherein you not only get the recognition and also the reward that is indicated on the website, but more importantly, what Rama Garu mentioned is also the chance to get your solution adopted by the government of Telangana. Rama Garu, thank you very much for doing this. And with that, we conclude the first segment of this webinar. Ritu and Rama Garu, thank you so much for joining in. We will proceed to the second segment, where this will be more about answering questions, or at least expanding more on the scope of the awards, and also we will have a Q&A with the startups. But you can feel free to continue or drop off depending on your schedules. But really appreciate you taking out time, both of you, and joining us this morning.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Praveen. Thank you, Rama Garu.
Thank you, Ritu.
All right. So with that, we'll move into the second segment. And through the second segment, what I wanted to share specifically is, the website, right? So there's a lot of detail which is there on the website, and there's no better repository of information that you can revisit. So as you can see from the screen, Kriti, can you just reconfirm, just thumbs up in case you see my screen? Okay. So so what we are trying to do is, we're looking at, of course, there are several sectors, where AI can positively impact a society. But we felt we wanted to start small. We want to make sure that we are targeting a few critical sectors that we believe are of importance to all the stakeholders that are connected with this initiative. We said we'll look at education, we'll look at healthcare, and we'll look at environment, sustainable environment of sorts. So the key objectives for us is really be able to unearth and identify those innovations, AI-based innovations in these three sectors that have really high potential. And like I was mentioning earlier, there has been some evidence of that potential in some pilot deployments. So we want to recognize those high potential solutions. First, definitely with an award, we want to give a monetary reward of about 7 lakh rupees per sector. And this is essentially way for you to scale some of the future work that you will do with that particular solution. So there is that monetary reward and also recognition, because there's going to be a lot of coverage around this, and we also plan to publish one document that lists the top 3 innovators in that particular segment who are doing some really good work. And it's also a good way for you to showcase or have your solution showcased in that particular format. Obviously, we'll want the best solution to win, but there'll always be the solutions that will be next in line, just simply because the nature of how these awards work, right? So that's really the the focus. So I've talked about the categories, healthcare, and sanitation also, in some ways, given that the kind of issues that we have in our country, and sanitation is also an area which has a tremendous scope for AI to play a role. Of course, there's skill development and livelihoods. Education, as I said, can impact livelihoods at scale, and skilling is one of the areas, but there are several other areas in which you can possibly look at how AI can contribute. You may have a solution that might be connected to some of these areas, including the environment, as you see over here. But there may also be questions, and the idea is this webinar is for us to have a discussion, for you to be able to ask questions. As I speak, please use the Q&A feature on the webinar to ask your questions. I see somebody already asking a question. We'll get to that as we go further along. I also wanted to make sure that I touch upon the criteria. So the criteria here, we're looking at 3 broad criteria, right? The kind of problem that you've chosen for the AI implementation. Is it, one of the things that the evaluators will be looking at is it a problem that is worth solving at scale, right? And so it also is very important, because when we talk of social impact, there will be solutions that will address a social problem, but is it a problem that a lot of people are facing, right? Something to do, with healthcare. The general tendency is to think that whatever that we are, having or devising a solution for will be applicable for the entire population, but needn't be the case. Let's say if the solution is very particular to let's say a certain segment of the population, and maybe that segment is very, very small, it's a micro segment, then it is a very good solution, no doubt, but it is probably addressing that solution at a very small scale. Not that it's a bad thing, and full kudos to your solution if it is operating in such micro segments, but it might be one of the criteria that the evaluators will be looking at. Of course, having a solution at scale, or a solution that has an impact to, or at least the potential to impact a larger size population, is obviously going to be very interesting, because then it starts to get into the attention span of the governments and other agencies that are working in that sector. So hence, it is important to assess whether the problem that you've chosen to solve for is big enough and is significant enough, right? So that's one. The second is innovation. So obviously, this is the crux of your solution. What is so innovative about your solution as compared to what others have been doing in this space? Was it a problem that was never solved? Most of the cases, it's unlikely to be the case. It might have been solved, but the solution might have been suboptimal. Maybe technology wasn't used, maybe other mechanisms were used, or maybe technology was used, but it was suboptimal. Maybe AI wasn't used, and you've chosen to innovate and sort of create that game-changing innovation in that space. So use the opportunity to highlight, your innovations, in that particular manner, because that's really what the evaluation is going to be centered around. Then it's also important to understand the kind of impact. I was talking about this earlier as well, because solution is as good as its impact, right? The kind of value that it brings to that particular set of beneficiaries or the audience that it is intended for. Now, the impact can be assessed based on certain standard metrics. You may have some KPIs that you may have defined for your solution as a part of your initial deployment. It could be a proof of concept that you have seen, you've tried, tested, or maybe a larger scale pilot. Ideally, if you have a meaningful pilot where your solution's readiness for scale to some extent has been tested, and you've also been measuring those criteria, those KPIs that you've defined, or your partner who's implementing your solution has defined for you, or you have defined that together. Those KPIs are the ones that we will be looking at, the evaluators will be looking at specifically, and through that they will make their own assessment of how impactful your innovation has been, right? So those are the three broad criteria that the evaluation will be centered around, so that when you are submitting your application, your nomination for these awards, you're mindful of the metrics that you will need to or mindful of the information that you will want to share as a part of your application. So I just get to the milestones bit. The milestones we've listed it over here, but you've clearly seen we are at the second milestone, which is really the informational webinar. The deadline for applications ends on the 28th of February, so about 8 days to go. So don't push it till the end, because we will commence applications as they come on a rolling basis and have them evaluated by the evaluators. And don't wait till the last moment. Well, if you ask what is the absolute deadline in terms of the timeline or in terms of the time of that particular day, it's 11:59 p.m. is the deadline for you to apply. So after that, we'll take a week for evaluators to review the applications and score the applications, and then be able to shortlist the final candidates. So we will inform the final candidates, final list of startups on the 7th. I see that we will have about 3 startups per category that will be shortlisted for the last round, the jury round, and that jury round will be conducted on the 10th of March. So my request is just have these dates marked in your calendar, because in case your startup is shortlisted for the jury round, make yourself available on the 10th, because these dates would not change and they will stay as is. And hence it's important that you are available to represent your startup and put your best foot forward during the jury interview round. We will get to specifics on what will be covered in the jury interview once we get to that stage. So you'll have about 3 days to prepare. It'll largely be centered around your deck, your startup solution. Of course, again, touching upon the 3 criteria that I explained earlier on. But really the specifics of how you can go about preparing for the jury interviews is what we will communicate on the 7th of March. The award ceremony is going to be on the 17th of March. And for the startups that are chosen for the jury interview, we would invite you to come and join us at the ceremony. And we're looking at 17th March. I don't think this is going to change, but in case of any change, we'll let you know about this. So there is also a section that we've compiled on the website, which is on the frequently asked questions. Feel free to go through these questions. I'm sure a whole lot of your questions can get answered through this section. But if you feel that there are questions that have been unanswered, or questions that you think have not been addressed, please use this webinar. This is a live opportunity for you to interact with us. But at the same time, if you're listening to this recording, or you've finished this webinar and then you realize that you had a question or two that you wanted to ask, please visit our microsite. It has information about the email address. You can make a note of this. This is also going to be there in the recording. The recording will try to put this up on the microsite as well, so you can listen to this in case you've made some notes but you felt it might be a good idea for you to revisit this. So we'll have this placed on the website as well. But in case you have any questions after this webinar, feel free to write to us at taim@nascom.in, and we'll be happy to share, our responses on that. So with that, I'm going to stop the second segment, which is really, details about the awards. And, what I would want to do is use the opportunity, to respond to any questions that you have, with respect to these awards, right? So I'll go to the Q&A segment. I'm just opening up the questions that have been posed over here. So the first question is from an anonymous attendee asking, hi, does the government have the AI for social good for making this for waste management and forest fires? So I'm trying to understand this question a little bit better. If this is about nominating your solution, which is centered around waste management or forest fires, then it is still relevant from the sustainable environment sector point of view. So please go ahead and apply. But if the question is more about if government is taking up any initiatives, Ramagaru, I still see you connected. So do you want to add to this question?
Yes, Praveen, thank you. Waste management, definitely we will be looking at it. Forest fires, I'm not sure if it's relevant for the state of Telangana, unlike, other states probably. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention this, Praveen. Huh?
Sure. Thank you, Ramagaru.
Yeah, but we'll also meanwhile find out from our, forest officials if this is a problem for us in Telangana. If so, we'll definitely look into. Otherwise, we may not. Huh? Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So, to the person that has asked this question, this is more like, of course, this is the scope of this initiative is really to recognize innovation. So if you have a great innovation in the area of waste management or forest fires or both, please feel free to apply. You will, if your solution is good, really good, then you will end up winning the prize money and the recognition. And when it comes to the implementation, like Ramadevi Garu mentioned, if it is relevant for the government of Telangana, then they will implement it. But of course, subject to the requirements as stated by the relevant officials. Gaurav has asked the question, is there a way we can edit already submitted applications? Gaurav, my suggestion is that you should apply once again. There is no way in which you can edit your submitted application. It will be there, but it cannot be edited by you. But I would suggest that apply once again, please. Thank you. An anonymous attendee has asked again, can you confirm if the application is open for only startups or whether health initiatives of established companies can also apply for this award? As much as we would like it, we are restricted to have these awards only for startups. In case it's an established company that you're representing, then there's another initiative which is driven by NASSCOM called as the AI Game Changers Awards. And this happens every year. And I encourage you to take a look at the website. The awards for 2023 have not been announced, or the nominations or applications have not been invited yet. But it's an opportunity for you to consider that particular opportunity. I mean, that particular initiative in order for you to apply. But these awards are restricted to startups because startups have limited funds and limited recognition. We want to make sure that we are providing these benefits primarily for startups. The next question is by Gauri Sinha. How much of current deployment of AI is critical? If there is a strong roadmap of deploying AI for a scalable solution, would that make a startup eligible to be considered for the award? Okay, so Gauri, the current deployment is crucial in terms of evidencing the potential of your solution. When it comes to the kind of scale that it can achieve in that particular sector, right, for whatever problem that you're trying to solve. Now, a strong roadmap for your deployment is definitely very critical and crucial, no doubt about it. And if that is coupled together with some existing evidence of of the kind of potential that your solution has, I think that will make it more robust. Key here is we really want solutions that are already deployed in some way, and the outcomes and the KPIs from such deployments would be very strong indicators of the potential that these solutions will have. And of course, you know, if there is a scope and place where you can talk about your roadmap, please do that, because it will definitely come in handy. You know, that will be definitely more valuable, I think, you know, during the time of the jury interviews, because the jury will also look at what is the how do you plan to scale your solution, and the roadmap will definitely come in handy. But I think at the first stage, where it is really about, you know, understanding and coming up with a shortlist, and evaluators will be primarily looking at the kind of potential that the solution has, and that is purely based on the kind of metrics and KPIs that you will share with us as a part of your application, and that has to evidence the kind of potential that your solution has. Hopefully that answers your question, Gauri. Anonymous attendee asks, is it social good only, an NGO based, or can it be on a public domain without having an underprivileged? I don't think I understood this question. If you don't mind, can you have your question rephrased, please? The Q&A feature is still open, so you can use that feature again, please. Anup Prasad has asked, we are into sanitation prototype stage, can we apply? So Anup Prasad, if your sanitation prototype, just want to confirm, uses AI. If it does, then you know, the prototype, I'm guessing, would have some deployment someplace, right? I mean, you would be implementing it, you know, in some place or with some partner, and the implementation would eventually lead into some outcomes that you are tracking, right? Or the partner or the agency that is working with you is tracking. I would suggest that, you know, until the time that you do not have any meaningful metrics or KPIs to showcase, it might be very early. Let's say your prototype has been deployed. Now, the question I don't, I mean, the question that I have is your prototype deployed? If you are in the prototyping stage itself, then maybe this is not the stage for you to apply. Your prototype has to be ready and has to be deployed in a way that it is eliciting valuable metrics and outcomes as a result of that deployment. And only then I think you would be qualified to apply. Otherwise, if you're just building the prototype, then I would advise you against. All right. Okay, Gauri has reinforced the message that I shared with her or him. So that's good to know. Anonymous attendee asked, are AI solutions for teaching, learning, and governance in education considered for application? Of course, teaching and learning, this is really about skill development, both from, you know, the teacher's point of view as well as the learner's point of view, and the aspects around administration and governance, which also can some ways contribute towards efficiencies in the education system, are definitely welcome. So please do you know, apply if you believe your solution has an impact in the teaching side or the learning side, or on the education, administration, or governance side of things. All right, Rahul, good to see you here. You asked, what's the definition of a startup in terms of its age? Since inception, we got awarded the EI Game Changer last year, and does that prohibit us in any manner? Okay, so Rahul, I think startup definition, we ideally would look at startups that are 8 years or younger, but we are also open to the idea of having startups that are less than 10 years. So in case these are some extraneous circumstances have led to the startups. I mean, COVID also has done a lot of damage to startups, and hence we are mindful of that. And hence, you know, although we have stated 8 years, but if a startup is less than 10 years old, then we are okay to receive those applications as well. And to your other part of your question, the bit about you winning the Game Changers Award last year, that's great. You know, kudos to your solution, and that doesn't prevent you from applying and being eligible for these awards, because, you know, here we are promoting social good, and we're recognizing all such innovations that are in that space. All right. Anita asked, I hear that the problem worth solving. Telangana stands on the top of pyramid on suicide, drug and alcohol abuse, and gaps in mental health, human rights. We are a mental health solution provider with an AIML for holistic health screening and triaging. Do we stand a chance to apply? These are important problems, Anita, and there are benefits to. Kriti, just hold on to this question. Don't dismiss it. Okay, you've dismissed it. Okay, I have to go to the answered questions. So you talk about suicide, drug and alcohol abuse, all are very important aspects. And when we talk of health and sanitation, it's not just about physical health. It's also very important for us to be talking about mental health and how we are addressing those problems, with various kinds of solutions. And here in this context of these awards, we're looking at AI-based solutions. And since you seem to have an AI-based solution for screening and triaging, I think it makes a great fit for these awards. You definitely would qualify, and you should definitely apply. And also, if I see what you're saying, that these problems are very crucial for the state of Telangana, then obviously we will take the help of Rama Devi Garu, who's right now, I think she's exited the webinar, but we'll take her help in connecting with the healthcare department, trying to understand how the winning solutions, the top 3 solutions, can be taken up with the healthcare department, and trying to see how we can bring about implementation as well. All right. Hope that answers your question, Anita. Anonymous attendee has asked, social good is for a public domain, meaning enhancing an existing system like the blood banks, food security, etc. Or it should focus on any area or any particular audience, like slum development. This can be finance, construction, etc. So the sectors are clear. We're talking about health and sanitation, skill development and livelihoods, and sustainable environment. So it has to be connected to these 3 sectors. It could mean enhancing an existing solution that might exist. Let's say we're talking of blood banks, right? Maybe there is a shortage of blood, and you seem to have a solution, let's say, that helps in making blood more accessible at the fastest possible pace, to the needy, right? And that's a great solution, because it's a real problem that is there. How big of a problem it is to solve, I don't know. You'll have to justify that, and evaluators will be looking at. But you need to look at problems in that space. It needn't be a healthcare as in a diagnostic related issue. It can be related to mental health, as what Anita was asking about, or it could be related to blood banks, which is also connected to healthcare, right? But how are you using AI in order to solve these problems is what we will be interested in, where you have already deployed that solution in that space, and the outcomes of that is really what we'll be evaluating. Hope that answers your question, right? Anonymous attendee asks, alcohol and drug abuse is also under a medical and health issues. Sure, of course it is, and which is really what I was advising to Anita and also to you. That's absolutely the case, and it's an important problem that can be solved, especially concerns around suicides and all other issues that Anita was talking about. All of those are quite relevant, and if there is a solution, you should definitely apply. Anonymous attendee asks, is this a public domain or is it only for a set of audience? So it can be for a public domain. See, if you look at education, right? Education has an impact at scale, right? So you're looking at an implementation of these solutions. So whether it's education, healthcare, or environment, those are all public domain oriented solutions, right? I mean, those are out there, right? And you get to impact these solutions. Now, I don't know or I don't understand when you ask, is it only for a set of audience? Of course, it will always be for a segment within that sector, right? So if I'm looking at education, right, I can look at pre-primary as a segment, and that is the set of audience that my solution is geared towards, right? Or you say that it is irrespective of the segment, but it is rather, it has a segment, but my segment is bigger than a pre-primary. It is from pre-primary right until high school, right? And then your size of the audience, so the set of audience, becomes much larger, and the kind of impact that your solution has at scale becomes even more higher, right? So you need to start to look at it, because it's definitely relevant to the public domain. Education is a very much a public domain issue as much as it is a healthcare or a sustainable environment related sectors, right? But it's really about the audience or the segment. I would rather call it the segment that you're addressing, the target group, the target segment that your solution is addressing. And that needs to be accounted for when you're considering to apply for this challenge. Okay, anonymous attendee asks, does the application need to be from an entity registered as a startup? Yes, it has to be an entity registered as a startup, as in with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, you need to be legally registered as a startup. It is okay even if you are not a DPIIT registered startup, although it would be good to have you DPIIT registered, because DPIIT registration brings a lot of benefits. So I encourage you to apply to DPIIT. But even if you're registered as a legal entity, as an LLP or a private limited company under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, that's good enough. Okay, so I don't see any further questions, but I'm going to give it another 20 seconds to see if there are any further questions. If not, we'll call it a wrap. Okay, can a legal entity which is under a parent company register or apply? Again, what I'll be curious to know is if the legal entity, if the parent company is a large enterprise, and the legal entity which is a subsidiary of the parent company is an entity that can be considered a startup, because subsidiaries of larger enterprises ideally would not be considered as larger or even mid-sized enterprises will not be considered as startups. So so I would not think so, but in case you have specifics to share, please write to us on our email address and we'll be able to answer that better. Okay. No more questions. All right. Fine. I mean, although I said there are no more questions, if there are more questions after this, feel free to write to us on our email address. Kriti will drop a message on the chat, and you can pick up that email address from over there and reach out to us. And also for those that are listening into this webinar recording, you can write to us at taim@nascom.co.in. I'll repeat, sorry, because of that. It's taim@nascom.co.in. So feel free to write to us. We'll be able to answer any further questions that are specific and you feel that you're not keen on asking this question on a public forum. We'll be able to answer those questions. Thank you once again for joining in and also for patiently listening in. I hope this was useful. And also to those that I have said that your solution, at least prima facie based on the questions that you've asked, fit into the realm of these awards, please do go ahead and apply. There is a very good opportunity for you to get considered and evaluated, and if you are picked among the top 3, then I think that's a really good opportunity for you to get more visibility through the process. And I really am rooting for some of you that are participating here, and also those that are listening to this recording, that you actually go on and win these awards. So with that, we conclude this webinar. Thank you once again, and we hope to see your applications, and look forward to listening from you over emails in case there are any specific questions. Thank you once again for joining in.